No, you got it right. And it's the right day, right? Yeah, Monday, February, like, we've been there before. They have little shadows.
I was like,
We'll pause momentarily while Lori Larson is. Now, Jenny's, you don't want to see her. Jenny was here.
we're getting close.
Pausing while Lori's video.
My eyes are keeping up with the paper.
Good evening. The regular meeting of the Bahama Seymour Board of Education is called to order. It is 7:00 p.m. on Monday, February 11th. At this time, I'd like everyone to sign in if you're a guest and to silence any cell phones in the room. I'd also like to remind visitors that in order to facilitate an effective meeting, we ask those who wish to make public comments to read the visitor guidelines, which are on the table outside the door. Complete the attached public participation form and get those to Jennifer right here at the end of the table in the next few minutes. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. Could we have roll call, please?
Giles.
Here.
Rayburn.
Here.
Hendricks.
Here.
Casson.
Here.
Larson. Here. Hart.
Here. At this time, we are privileged to have another one of our students with us tonight, Isaiah Benson. And Isaiah, if you could pop right up here in front of us. And if everyone would stand, Isaiah's going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Isaiah, thank you. Thanks for doing that for us. You have a good night. Oh, we gonna take a photo?
She wants her picture.
Oh, yeah. She never wants my picture. Okay, board members, you've had an opportunity to review the agenda. Anyone wish to make any changes to the agenda? Which is difficult to do at this point, but nonetheless, we check. And hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented? So moved. Thank you. Is there a second? Second. And all in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Do we have any public participation forms? Okay. Next up is consent agenda. And tonight, the consent agenda approves minutes of previous meetings, bills to pay, the treasurer's report, personnel changes, some record management issues, surplus property issues, and approval of a new activity fund account. Board members, you've had that information for several days. You've had a chance to review it. You've had a chance to ask any questions you might have. With all that in mind, is there anything that you would like to remove from the consent agenda for further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Lori. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lance. Further discussion on the consent agenda? Quick roll call vote, please.
Park.
Casson,
Yes.
Raver,
Yes.
Giles, Hendricks,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the donation list. Dr. Hall.
Thank you. We have one donation this month, and I'm happy to introduce Lamar Schrock, who's here from the Vineyard Church to present the Board of Education and the school district with a donation of $5,000. So we're very grateful.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Lamar, why don't you come back up and do it? This is where we see how good you are with the one. Here. Hold the check out. Everybody want to stand behind or something? We don't really have a protocol for this. We just kind of make it up. We just make it up and speak it out.
Next year.
Dr. Hall, you get your foot up.
All right, you ready? All right,
You get it?
I think so.
You certified on my camera? I'm not.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Lamar.
Thank you,
Good to
Dr.
see
Hall.
Yeah, that's not.
Obviously, very, very generous. The Vineyard Church has blessed our district a number of years with a sizable donation that we use in our social work fund to help students in need. So again, I'm so appreciative of such a generous donation.
This is outstanding. So, we need a motion to approve the donation list. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion on donations? That's very grateful. Thank you. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Park, Casson,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Raver,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Very good. It is now communication time. Is there anything from the PTO tonight? MSEA. Foundation.
The bash tickets go on sale tomorrow. They will be $65 a piece, and that includes the buffet dinner, beverages, and live entertainment.
Who is
And
it?
it's, Hey Jimmy, it's the same
Okay.
band that we've had the last 2 years from Chicago. Wait for a minute. They've been a hit with the audience, so. They're loud.
Good. We
That's really
appreciate,
mostly it. We talked last month about the money. And
we appreciate the
put on the website.
foundation, and annual fundraiser is a key part of what they do, so that's outstanding. Tickets tomorrow.
Tickets
And
tomorrow.
if someone would like a ticket, who do they see?
Well, they can, if they're a school personnel person, they can go to somebody within the school and get their tickets. They can order them on the website. Jill Kellner locally is the chairman of the bash this year, so you can get them from her. There's a website set up. BidPal, we'll be using BidPal again. Working on some very unique packages, so.
Okay. Very good. Visitors, you said we didn't have anything, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now it's time for building reports. Board members' building reports were in your packet. You've had a chance to review those also. And we'll just see if we've got any comments tonight from board members. We'll start with Dr. Casson.
I have no report. I don't have any report either.
I think it's great that junior high won #1 for jazz band this
Yeah.
weekend.
It's a good deal.
I thought that Lincoln Trail starting the youth leadership club was a great idea. Curious to see how that grows, and I mean the activities that it looks like you guys are going to be focused on are great. So it's good stuff.
That took two of mine away. I was excited for the high school color guard to be their first time this year, and they did awesome, and they placed third at state, so that was exciting. And then Middletown had their 100 days. I just love the 100 days. So that lets you know school's rolling, and the kids really like that 100 number at that age. So.
And I don't have anything to add at this point.
She's on the report.
Very good. All right, so moving on, the next report is the financial update. That is Trent.
So for tonight, I also have the financial update time to Chair Lynn to present on some fiber optic information, a project that he may have been able to pull off, having funded for us, to do that for free through some grants and some E-rate funding. So he's going to provide some information about that. I don't know if you still your funding or
You just stole it. It's like, that was my last slide.
You didn't hear what I said.
We weren't made.
Do you remember last time we had graphics that
I know,
Love it.
so
I can do that
we
now.
collaborated on this one. The theme is Trent's project. It's just very boring. Great. But yeah, no, so like I said, so Trent and I kind of collaborated on this. As you all know, and I've talked on this numerous times, all of our current internet activity flows through the junior high before it leaves the district. What that means is this building, the high school, Lincoln Trail, they all connect back to the junior high. Right now, this building in particular, we lease a single strand of fiber through our internet provider called Servant, and that costs us $1,500 a month to lease that strand of fiber. That is E-rateable, but then—
I'm sorry, that is what?
E-rateable.
Okay.
So E-rate is, I'll talk about what that is in a second, but it's basically federal funding.
Okay.
It's provided to public schools and public libraries for internet connectivity. All the other fiber in the district, we own. So anything that connects the Lincoln Trail to the high school or the high school to the junior high, the district owns it. We have no ongoing costs. So really our only ongoing cost is the link that connects us to the internet and then the link that connects us from this building to the junior high. Okay? Knowing that the junior high is at some point going to be coming offline, we've started down the path of trying to figure out how we're going to address this issue. One of the ways is that we can move all of our internet connectivity outbound to the high school, which we know won't be going anywhere. That is the most economical solution that we can come up with. So my proposed project is to connect fiber from Middletown to the high school. Now, like I said, we already have it currently, but we are leasing it. We do not own it. It costs us $1,500 a month. And it goes directly into the junior high. So my proposal suggests that we do a project that will bypass the junior high and go directly into the high school. This will then allow us for expansion into this campus whenever we decide to relocate the junior high. Like I said, we only leased one strand of fiber, and to connect these buildings together, it requires more than just a single strand. There's a lot of nuances that go into this, so I won't get into the needs or to the weeds, but just know that this is something that at some point we will more than likely have to address. So the total cost for this project, now keep in mind this was, as I said, E-rateable. So E-rate is a federal communications corporate or FCC program that sets aside federal money for school districts and public libraries to get internet connectivity into their schools. There are very, very strict guidelines that we have to follow, like it has to go out to bid for 28 days. You have to do a matrix with cost being the highest factor in your decision-making tree. And there's several other things that you can utilize, but cost has to be the greatest factor. So construction costs to get from Middletown to the high school is roughly $164,000. We had two bids come in when we went out to bid. We chose the $164,000 bid with a monthly fee of $750. Now that $750 covers maintenance and locating fees. So if something happens where somebody cuts it, or we make a phone call to Julie and Julie requests that we go and mark where our fiber is, we would be paying somebody to do that anyway. So that monthly fee is very much necessary. Again, those fees are E-rateable. So instead of paying that full $750, we will only be paying $300 a month in fees. So how do we pay for all this? So traditionally, based off of our free and reduced lunch numbers, E-rate covers 60%. And that's guaranteed pretty much every single year. You just go to E-rate and say, hey, I have this project. You submit all the bunch of bills to them, and then they basically stamp it and say you're good to go. Sometimes they get a little cranky and you have to contest it, and Usually it gets through. Anyway, this year, they have increased it to 70% for construction projects. So that total cost for the federal government covering $115,000. This year and this year only, the state has a matching grant. That's a $16 million grant that you can apply for. And since E-rate is already covering 70%, we're only asking for 30% from the state, which is about $50,000. So a $164,000 project that the district could potentially pay absolutely nothing.
I like
I like that cost.
Right?
That's a great cost.
That is a great, now, Trent stole my thunder. I was gonna have a slide where it just like dropped down a big old zero.
Trent, does that number work for you?
We're talking through that, we can make that.
Right. So this is a project that at some point in time we're going to have to accomplish anyway. So I've applied for it. This entire project is contingent on BOST funding being secured. So if we don't get it this year, then I can get E-rate again, but that $16 million grant may not be there in the future.
Jared, so our monthly cost would be $300.
Correct.
Right now it's $1,500.
$1,500, correct.
Does the E-rate cover any of that $1,500?
Yes, 60%.
Okay, so we're paying $600 a month.
Yeah.
So we could see our costs go down
Correct.
$300 and get the project done
And we
for
own
zero.
And the project,
And we-
and we own it.
And we-
And we don't have any maintenance or.
The maintenance is the $750.
Right.
So we, sorry, go ahead.
And I can wait. What's the timeline on possibly hearing about the grant?
So the project has to be 100% complete by 2020, June of 2020. So we should be knowing within the next couple months as to whether or not it got approved. Because usually construction projects is about a 6-month build out.
And the state really has money?
It's already allocated,
Really?
yes.
They've already come in, yeah.
Have the street funds been available in previous years, and if so, do we have any history on how
So-
oversubscribed those have been?
The E-rate funds?
So E-rate is different. It depends on what category you're trying to fall under. This is what they consider category 1. It is there every single year since the inception of E-rate, which is back in the 1990s. It never goes away. Category 2 is stuff that's inside the building. That money could go away next year. So this cannot qualify for Cat 2, but it definitely qualifies for Category 1. And it never has not been there.
Yeah, so Cat 2 fluctuates. We did use Cat 2 funding for
For construction of
the
this.
infrastructure, internet infrastructure, and
And the high school and
phase
junior
2,
high.
Right. And prior to the Chromebooks, the infrastructure in the junior high and high school.
Right. But Category 1 is, we use it every single year to pay for our internet. So our internet connectivity from our internet provider, that is covered under E-rate Category 1. It is just there every single year. Depending on how you word your contract with your ISP, your internet provider, we can have a 10-year agreement with our internet provider and we never have to go out to bid again. But the initial bid has to occur at some point in time.
So can our request be in line with a bunch of others to where the entire pool of money is oversubscribed?
For E-rate, no, because you're just offering for E-rate, no. For Category 1, no. The state, yes. It is potential that the state matching grant may not be there.
I think maybe where Earl's going with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't get this, we're gonna get the E-rate money this year.
Correct.
Guaranteed.
Right.
But if we didn't get the state money and we passed on the project, could we potentially get in a situation down the road where E-rate goes away and now we're on the hook for the whole? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but is that where you're?
That would be something that the FCC would probably hear. Like it would be, because schools rely on that for year to year for their internet costs.
So we feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's federally funded. I mean, it is one of those things where like if the federal government cut E-rate, I do think you would see some pitchforks. Because it is so reliant on funding internet activity. It's not just for construction costs, it's also just to provide internet to schools. So we turn around and say, whatever our bill is for our internet connectivity for the entire year, we turn around and get 60% of that back from the federal government, right, without question.
Are we actually running an underground line all the way from here to the high school?
Yeah, we will be.
There's no existing anything?
There is, but it's not dedicated to us.
So how long do we keep those? I mean, how long before we have to replace that line or?
So you're looking at like the typical build out is a 30-year, like it's good for about 30 years. The agreement that that we agreed with Servant is for a 10-year contract. So that $750 a month will be good for 10 years. They could have extended it further, but we'll start with 10 years and just go from there. You don't typically have to replace those in any time that we could foresee. The fiber that's that connects the junior high to the high school has been there for at least 15, 20 years. It's doing fine. Fiber is one of those long-term things that once it's in the ground, you really don't replace it too much. I don't foresee it being an issue. And keep in mind, majority of your costs are the construction, right? So digging the holes, putting it in the conduit, doing all that work, that's the majority of your cost. The fiber itself is negligible. And I say negligible in a loose term, but it's, pennies compared to what it is to actually bore it and trench it.
So if the fiber goes bad, you just pull a new line.
Correct, you just pull it, yeah, or if the fiber goes bad in a section, you just pull a new section to it and splice it in, and it's good to go. Again, with us paying the $750 a month, if something happens to it where like somebody's digging and they cut it, we're not responsible for that. Now, if that were to happen between our buildings, then we're responsible. Let's say from the junior high to the high school and somebody's digging, then it's on us because it's our property the entire way. But since we go through so many different properties to connect from here to the high school, we're paying somebody else to be responsible for it.
So the project is to connect from here to the high school.
Correct.
Really, the feed right now is to the junior high.
Correct.
So right now, we just then piggyback on the high school feed to the junior high to get.
The high school connects currently to the junior high. So what'll happen is whenever the junior high comes offline, and this is a long time down the road, Servant's already preparing for this. Our internet provider is called Servant, Central Illinois Broadband, something. They are preparing for this, and they'll be relocating all of their equipment from the junior high to the high school. But we've been planning on this for a while. It's a whole mess. No, and that's the thing, right? Like, we went ahead and submitted all of our paperwork to the state because we had to have a meeting deadline by a certain date. It was one of those things where it's a no-brainer.
He said I can't, this is all Jared's, his credit, because he stayed up to date on this, he was striking while the iron's hot with the state matching grant, so
Right.
Awesome.
credit to you.
Yeah, so if it comes, great. If not, then we still know we can get 60% covered at some point. And then we'll do it whenever we can construct the junior high. But might as well work on it now if the money's there. So.
When will you find out?
In a couple months. They never gave me an official date.
Any idea how many schools are going after the state money?
So I talked to a lady who's our E-rate consultant, or an E-rate consultant for the state, and she seemed to think that there wouldn't be a problem with us getting it approved. Because I was like, I asked the same questions, right? Like, is there a ton of other schools that are applying for
The
this?
state of Illinois has money for anything right now. There's like vultures.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as it
So,
should be.
and she seemed to think, on submission day, I asked her how many other districts had applied, and she said there actually was a lot less than what she thought there would be.
All right, well, good.
So,
Maybe they don't count the state for money.
It's a little
it might be a little hidden secret. And I told some of the neighboring districts, asking them if they applied for it, and none of them did. So.
afterwards, right? Yes.
After deadline day, yes.
After the deadline passes.
Yes, no.
Good man.
So yeah, really just a heads up, this is kind of what's going on. I'll report back if it gets approved. So.
Good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Get stuff like that.
Okay, Trent, anything?
We did receive our,
Is your report?
yeah, no, I just, so we budgeted for 3 mandated categorical payments, we received our second now, so now we have, 3 more months to receive that third one that we budgeted for, which I feel pretty confident in. We originally budgeted for 3, thinking we'd get 3, and I think it's heading that direction still, so. Not a lot of other updates at this point.
Only in the Illinois funding world are there 3 quarters.
Yeah, right? That makes sense, yeah. But hey, if we get a 4th, it's bonus.
Yeah, it's part of the Common Core.
All right.
That 4th quarter, that became an internet grant. How they got that? All right. Thank you, Trent. Any questions for Trent? Jared? Go ahead.
Thanks, Trent.
Thanks, guys. Next report, superintendent report.
Thank you. Well, my main goal in my report tonight is to introduce our new Director of Facilities, who's here with us this evening, Mr. Steve Curtis. You want to stand up?
Oh, hi.
Say a few words about his experience, and then whatever you want to offer to us tonight. But Steve is a native of Champaign, the Champaign area, now lives in Mahomet. Comes to us with a wealth of facilities management experience, including at the University of Illinois, Marketplace Mall, Champaign County Nursing Home. So we are pleased to welcome him, and I think Trent has a phone to hand off to him pretty soon here.
What color is that one?
So Steve's going to start next Monday, the 18th, and worked out very well because Rick Johnston is going to be here that day doing some work in the building with our contractors, just finishing up the punch list, so that's a great opportunity for Steve to get to know Middletown Prairie as well. So we welcome you, and we're thrilled that you're here.
I'm honored to be a part of the district. It's a great district, has high regard throughout the central Illinois, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of the program. And I'm looking forward to getting to know everybody and see what problems I can help resolve. So,
Glad to have you.
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple of other items on my superintendent's report. I provided the list of the grants that were awarded this year from the Mahomet Seymour Education Foundation, just under $20,000 in classroom grants. Very, very grateful to the foundation and also to the teachers who took the time to write those grants. So the list is there, and that is a great way to enhance and continue our great work in the classrooms. I've had the chance to spend some time with John Howard, who's the new director of the Mahomet Public Library. Took him around the other day to see all of our libraries and meet our librarians, and so he is very anxious to be partnering with the schools, and I think it's just a wonderful addition to the community, and going to do a great job at the library. Our K-5 curriculum night was a huge success back on January 24th. I want to thank Dr. Rummel and the principals and all the teachers who presented that evening, and we're excited to announce that the 6th through 12th grade curriculum night is a go. We were hoping we get more people to sign up, and we kind of got one last push, so we're doing that this Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, right? Starting in the high school auditorium, so hope.
Can you circulate that to us, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Just in case.
Yeah, people want to show up. Lots of positive feedback about the K-5 night, and I'm sure the 6th through 12th grade night will be just as productive. The next Bulldog Dialogue is Monday, February 25th, right here in this room at 7 o'clock. And we are hosting the Spring Illinois Association of School Boards dinner here at Middletown Prairie at the end of the month on February 28th. And in election years, all the candidates who are running for school board from around the region are also welcome to attend. So we hope that we have our candidates there that evening, and should be a nice night. Our jazz band from the high school is going to perform that evening as well.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Hall? Okay, hearing none, thank you for the report. Now we're moving down to regular business and to the new business category. Item 1, Lincoln Trail Principal.
All right, another exciting hire for our school district. Want to introduce a familiar face who's going to be moving into a different role starting July 1st. I'm pleased to introduce Megan Hunter as the new principal of Lincoln Trail Elementary. And she comes to us after serving as assistant principal this year, and prior to that as our behavior interventionist for the last 3 years. And before that, working in Southern Illinois, in Carbondale, Murfreesboro. And so, again, thrilled to have you take over the pilot seat on July 1st. So congratulations.
You know, Steve didn't put his, shake his.
I know.
Would you like to come up and please shake his? Or the other option is you sing your high school fight song.
Well, no worry.
My pleasure.
We'd hate to miss it, but.
It's true. Appreciate it.
Okay. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve Megan Hunter as the Lincoln Trail principal as presented. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Understand the search committee was very impressed and excited about this. So. Hopefully you are too.
Is there a phone that gets in? I really hope.
You don't hear that until you slide the gun.
Okay.
We're holding that back just for. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, quick roll call vote, please.
Castle,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Rayford,
Yes.
Park, Hendricks,
Yes.
McComb.
Yes. Press update and policy changes, Dr. Hall.
Okay, we have a number of updates to our board policy courtesy of our press subscription service. So these are really reflective mostly of new legislation that was passed in Springfield, mostly in the fall. And so when that happens, then it kind of trickles downward and we update our policies to reflect the most current law. So the policy committee and I met last Monday, Dr. Casson and Mrs. Larson, and we went through these. I'm recommending that they all be approved and you would vote on those on the March 11th meeting. I will go over them quickly and just kind of summarize. There's nothing here that is earth-shattering or that changes anything that we do in a really substantial way. Mostly a lot of clarification, some new language. So to kick things off, policy 280, there's extensive language actually that's being added to the school board member oath of office, which is
We're
already
adding language.
yes, quite a bit. It's
There's already more words in the school board oath
There's
of
a lot of
office than there is in the
extra.
President of the United States.
Well, that speaks to the importance of being a school board member.
Thanks.
So
Okay.
that will. I don't know. I guess that would take place when the board gets reorganized in May. So we'll get that all typed up. Let's see. Policy 2.120, school board member development. There's language that's added that in addition to other professional development for school board members, that the school board members be trained in the appropriate and available supportive services for the promotion of student attendance and engagement. Policy 4.130, operational services, free and reduced price food services. There's a statement that we will be adding to our policy that says the status of a student's appeal or eligibility for free or reduced price food services shall not relieve the district of its obligation to provide him or her with a free meal or snack under the Hunger Free Students Bill of Rights Act if he or she requests one, regardless of his or her ability to pay. Policy 4.170, also under operational services in the area of safety, we are adding another drill to our mandated drills. This is a drill to address a school shooting incident. It must be done within the first 90 days of school. And this now requires that school personnel and students be present at school at the time of the drill. So we'll be working with our first responders and law enforcement folks to plan that. So that's added to our list of mandated drills.
We're doing that in each building.
Yes. And I should emphasize, it will look very different depending on the age of the child. So I want to just reassure folks that it will be age appropriate and taking into consideration the age and population of the school. Under policy 5.30, this is a hiring process and criteria for a superintendent, should you need one eventually. Board maintains the superintendent's job description and directs through policy the superintendent in his or her charge of the district's administration. That's language that's being added. There's also additional language regarding background checks that the board president is responsible for, and the board president, it also adds that if the board president deems appropriate, additional background checks can be done on candidates. In terms of general hiring guidelines, the language that's being added makes it clear that the district cannot request of an applicant or an employee access in any manner to his or her personal online account, such as social networking websites or asking for passwords for those. Under 5.60, expenses for general personnel, district is not responsible for any losses due to employees' own negligence or losses due to normal wear or losses due to theft unless the theft is the result of the district's negligence. That's for reimbursable business expenses. We are adding training for licensed school personnel and administrators who work with students in kindergarten through 12th grade. This previously was 7th through 12th grade. It now brings in our younger students to identify the warning signs of mental illness and suicidal behavior in youth. And also ongoing professional development for teachers, staff, administrators, school resource officers about the appropriate and available supportive services for the promotion of student attendance and engagement. Moving on, policy 5.220. This is a new law, thankfully, in regard to short-term substitute teachers. We now have the opportunity to issue a short-term substitute teaching license. They must complete our training that we provide in district, and they may not serve for more than 5 consecutive school days in one licensed teacher's position. But that kind of loosened some requirements, which was very helpful because we're always looking for substitute teachers. In the area of curriculum and instruction, we are adding motorcycle safety and safety about also precautions that must be observed in emergency situations, highway construction and maintenance zones. This would be relevant to driver education. And then in kindergarten through grade 8, education must be available to students concerning effective methods of preventing and avoiding traffic injuries related to walking and bicycling. Policy 7.70, student attendance and truancy. Reasonable efforts will be made to provide ongoing professional development to teachers, administrators, and board members and staff and school resource officers on the appropriate and available supportive services for the promotion of student attendance and engagement. So you've heard a number of different pieces of language being added related to student attendance and engagement, and that is related to the Every Student Succeeds Act and our accountability measures, which now measure, one of our measures is chronic absenteeism. And so there's really a focus not just on truancy, which are unexcused absences, but your overall rate of absences of any kind for all of your students. So then this language is reflecting, training on why attendance is important and engagement of students and improving attendance in all of our schools. Policy 7.100, the district will need to provide informational materials regarding influenza, influenza vaccines, meningococcal disease, and meningococcal vaccinations. And so this would be information that we send home or provide to parents. Let's see. We will also be providing information to all students entering 6th grade, providing information to parents and guardians about information related to the human papillomavirus or HPV and HPV-related cancers and the availability of that vaccine. We are now adding a dental examination for 9th graders. And then there's language that's being added about exemptions from immunizations Illinois has some of the strictest laws on that. So there's some language being added for that. And then finish up with language about exemptions from PE. We do provide the opportunity for juniors and seniors to waive out of PE, and this provides more clarity about when students should return to PE class when their athletic season ends. So we already have this in place, but this provides more clarity there. And then more language in policy 7.290 about, again, more training for suicide awareness, depression awareness, and mental health, and warning signs for those things. And then finally, revision to policy 7.305, student athlete concussions and head injuries. That's a requirement for staff members to distribute the Illinois Department of Health concussion brochure to any student or parent guardian who may have sustained a concussion, regardless of whether or not the concussion occurred while the student was participating in an interscholastic athletic activity. So that's a brief overview. If you have read through this and you have any other questions, please communicate with me, and then this will be back for the board to vote on March 11th.
We'll have that back next month. Next, strategic planning update.
Okay. All right. Okay, get organized here. Thought I would take the opportunity to provide just an overview this evening on strategic planning and community engagement. And when we get to the end, we'll talk a little bit about next steps with this. But we've had a number of things kind of come into place over the last couple of months, and most recently with the Village of Mahomet, which really lay a nice groundwork or foundation for the board to move ahead with some strategic planning and community engagement activities. So most recently was a joint board meeting with the Village of Mahomet back on January 29th, where we heard the demographic and enrollment projection report from Dr. McKibben, and really kind of provided a look into the future in terms of enrollment for our school district, and also the population changes that are predicted to or forecasted to occur in the school district area. So we've got some really great pieces of information and groundwork laid, and I think that moving ahead, this is a great opportunity for the board to start looking at some strategic planning activities. So some of the, as I said, some of the existing information that we already have, we've developed some board goals that were developed in conjunction with me as it relates to my evaluation in the 17-18 school year. That's about a 5-year look out, and those have been shared with our administration and our staff. And I guess I look at those as kind of a roadmap for what the next 5 years look like and what are the major things we want to accomplish. And I'm going to go through those in just a few minutes. Again, the enrollment projection and demographic study was just presented to our board in conjunction with the Village of Mahomet trustees on January 29th. Really fascinating report that, again, was a nice look into the future. And another piece out there that is really been a positive change in the state of Illinois for the last 2 years is the evidence-based funding model. And we're moving into fiscal year 20 will be the 3rd year with the evidence-based funding model. And as always, we're hoping for a fully funded model. I'm not really sure what that looks like. We have a whole new political landscape in Springfield, so we'll see how those things work out. But the evidence-based funding model is also a roadmap that allows us to look and see where we really need to add staff in our district based upon some evidence-based factors that have shown to improve instruction in teaching and learning. So remember that the goal with the evidence-based funding model is to be on this continuous journey toward adequacy. And so we have been a district that has received some extra money to close the gap and move toward adequacy over the next decade or so. So that's a long time, and it's a long time for the state to sustain anything really. But so far it's been a very beneficial model for us to be operating under.
2 years in, they're doing okay.
Yeah. So just very briefly to review the board goals that we have developed together. There's 4 main areas, and those are teaching and learning, using evidence-based instructional practices, curriculum, programs, and services. We will support continuous improvement in learner outcomes for every student, as well as support the professional growth of staff. Under facilities, we will develop and maintain facilities, providing the current and future students with safe, well-maintained, and functional space to support research-based best practices in teaching and learning. Under finance, we will maintain a financial position which supports all district operations in an intentional, efficient, cost-effective manner, as well as providing long-term financial stability and health for the district. And under culture, we will support and grow a culture characterized by relationships that embody mutual trust and respect among the board, administration, faculty, staff, students, parents, and community, resulting in an organization that's focused on continuous improvement, open communication, and engagement. So we also have some current board policy that provides kind of an overview and structure in terms of goals and objectives. And so policy 130 is the philosophy of the school district. Policy 310 are the goals and objectives, and policy 610 are the educational philosophies and objectives. And so one of the first steps I'm going to recommend is just the board take a look at these 3 policies just to ensure that they reflect where we want to be as a board and where you want to be as a board, and that they reflects the direction that we want to head. So these have been in place for a while. It's probably just a good opportunity to take a peek at those and see if they are where we want to be, if we want to update those, and it could be that that they're absolutely fine and don't need any updating either. So also wanted to talk about the foundational principles of effective governance from the Illinois Association of School Boards. There are actually 6 foundational principles, and we're only going to review one of them tonight, not all 6. We're going to focus on number 2, which is the board connects with the community. And so I wanted to share this because it does show that the community engagement is a very essential part of what boards do, and obviously that the governing body of school boards in Illinois feels the same way. So the board connects with the community. The school board engages in ongoing 2-way conversation with the entire community. This conversation enables the board to hear and understand the community's educational aspirations and desires, to serve effectively as an advocate for district improvement, and to inform the community of the district's performance. It goes on to say that community engagement, or also called public engagement or civic engagement, is a process by which school boards actively involve diverse citizens in dialogue, deliberation, and collaborative thinking around common interests for the public schools. It's essential to create trust and support among the community board, the superintendent, and the staff. A board in touch with community-wide concerns and values serves the broad public good rather than being overly influenced by special interests. And the board must be aggressive in reaching out to the community, who are the district owners, to engage people in conversations about education and public good. In contrast, people who bring customer concerns to board members should be appropriately directed to the superintendent and staff. There we go. So just to define a little bit about community engagement a little bit further. It's different than public relations. We engage in quite a few public relations activities. which are all still an essential part of our communication plan and how we want to get our story out. PR tends to be pushing out information that is favorable and tells our story, lots of positive news, and it's still important, but it's not the same as community engagement. Community engagement is listening and connecting. It shows a desire and actions to actively involve diverse voices from the community. And it's planned, sustained, formalized, and intentional, but not necessarily a democratic process. So the purpose must be clarified, as well as how the information is going to be used that you gather from community engagement. So in hearing so many voices and getting so many diverse opinions, I think we can all understand that it's not possible to carry out every single suggestion or every single thing that comes forward. So it's important to make that clear from the beginning, but also make it clear what exactly the purpose of community engagement is and what we hope to come away with and what our ultimate goal is in doing that. So strategic planning, which is another part of this conversation this evening, just very briefly, it's a vision for the future and how to get there. Strategic plan also talks about the allocation or the prioritization of the resources that we have. And it's clarifying an overall purpose and desired results of an organization and how we will get there, how we will achieve those results. So a strategic plan then is supported by goals, objectives, and action plans that, that the administration and staff will be carrying out. So how do these two things fit together? It seems like a logical kind of partnership or marriage of two activities that you can get feedback from the community and listen to the community and also have that inform the development of a strategic plan. So these are two things that do go together very well. And so kind of melding community engagement and strategic planning increases the knowledge about the current state of the district. It increases the board's likelihood of hearing a diverse set of ideas that can be considered for improving the district. And it gives the Board of Education an opportunity to gather and listen to community perceptions about how the school district is doing. Can identify also and include stakeholders that might feel left out of the school district. We have a lot of connection with the school district, with parents and alumni that come back, but we also know that in the community we still have lots of taxpayers and owners of the school district who don't necessarily really have any connection. And those are tough groups to reach, but you know, they're our owners. They're helping to sustain and support our efforts, and so we can hopefully reach out to them and connect. By doing community engagement and strategic planning together, we can gain support for implementing the strategic plan both internally and externally, so within our organization and also outside. And also create a greater understanding about the why of what we do and how decisions are made within our organization. So just some benefits there. So next steps, we're not going to tackle all this tonight, by the way. Next steps would be to clarify and define the goals and the purpose. Why does our board in particular want to engage in these types of things? Be able to understand and be able to communicate, again, the why about why we would want to do this. Discuss the process. What do you want this to look like? Community engagement and strategic planning can look like a lot of different things. A lot of successful ways to do this. And then again, reviewing those board policies, I think, is a good first step, just because they're kind of the overarching guiding voice of board policies are of what we do. So to continue the conversation, we're scheduling a special board meeting on Wednesday, March 6th at 6 p.m. and to go over these ideas and just have a conversation and a focused study session on this topic. So my goal tonight, again, was just to provide an overview and kind of introduce the concept here and the idea, and then we'll continue the conversation in a couple of weeks.
I have a question. When we meet on March 6th, will we, I think it's not, but will we have the results of the 5 potential survey by then? Okay,
No.
Okay.
Those take till like April.
I'm just thinking they would be helpful.
Mhm.
nice tool to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And so going forward though, that's gonna be an annual, survey that's given, and, we had a great response rate.
That's what I was curious. I said number of respondents, question.
And so we might have to initially operate without that for a little while, but, so I wanna make it clear, March 6th is not March 6th is just.
The launching point.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure.
It's the starting block. So at some point, we will get those results from the 5 Essential Survey, and they could definitely inform the process a couple months out. So we're not knocking this out on March 6th.
Sure. But, and presently, Dr. Hall, that only goes to parents and staff and stuff like that, correct?
Yes, yeah, it is not open to the, just community at
Okay.
large.
Just because I was thinking about that would be a good way to engage the community at large, especially since we talked about that.
Yeah, and so parents, when parents take that survey, they're answering it in relation to each building that they have children in.
Okay. But that will come and that will be something we can use.
So, if you think back, it was probably a year into when Rick was here. We kind of really sat down and had a series of meetings and worked through kind of a 5-year plan. And that was just a little over 5 years ago. And so now it's time to readdress that and just kind of focus on where we want to be, and tying in community engagement, because that's an important part of the process. And so we'll reconvene on this on March 6th and just kind of start figuring out the path forward on this. Any other questions or comments on this? Dr. Hall said it won't be anything that we finish on March 6th, maybe the 7th, not the 7th. Trying to figure out where in the district we want to be living. And probably we're looking at 5 year window.
Yeah.
We think. But I guess that's part of the process too. How far are we gonna look? So think about that. Just because we did 5 years before, doesn't mean it has to be a 5-year window this time.
You got homework.
There you go. Anything else on this?
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting that. Okay. At this time, a closed session is necessary for number 1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee to determine its validity. 2, the placement of individual students in special ed programs and other matters relating to individual students. Is there a motion to go into closed session for those reasons at this time?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Rayberg,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Hart, Hendricks,
Yes.
Castle,
Yes.
Giles.
Yes.
McCall.
Yes, we'll go ahead and recess for about 10 minutes to clear the room. We do not anticipate any action at the conclusion of the closed